What's up with y'all? It's Rose Gold Empathy, and welcome to the third episode of the first season of Roses with Empathy podcast. So today, I really just want us to touch bases again on this idea of love and all that it entails. More specifically, I really want us to focus on this concept of unconditional love, or as I refer to it as love without bounds, which is the title of this episode. So I hinted at this topic in the last episode, and right now I'm feeling really excited and prepared to discuss my thoughts with y'all. But before we get started, if you don't mind, please follow me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. So this is my official page where all of my other outlets such as YouTube, SoundCloud, and Amazon are linked. My link tree is in my bio as well, so I hope everything is accessible for y'all and, there's no issues. Again, that's at _RoseGoldEmpathy on Instagram. Thanks for y'all support. So before we hop right into it, I'm going to grab some water, get comfy, clear my mind, and when we come back, it's on like Donkey Kong. So let's take a quick little break, and I'm going to see y'all in a few. Rose Gold.
It's really all about the language. They say black mean bad, but all the whites be so heinous. Been separated since baby leaving the laundry is tainted. How white mean pure, but they be acting the most dangerous. How black mean lazy, but we be making all the change. They don't want to get close, so they kill us at close ranges. Black Wall Street economic exchanges. Black boy shot dead.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Roses with Empathy podcast. It's me, Rose Gold Empathy, and the song you were just listening to is called Language. And I made this song in an attempt to sort of release pent-up emotions about the current civil unrest in Black America due to police brutality and just outright disdain and disregard for the Black plight. So if you're feeling that and you want to get connected and tap in with me, musically or even poetically, you can follow me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. Thank you so much for supporting me. So in the last episode of the Roses with Empathy podcast, I talked about love versus trust. And in this episode, I basically gave my own definition of love. Basically, I offered that at its core, without any fluff added to it, love is this sort of strong attraction towards someone or something based on a personal connection established with it. So immediately after the episode, though, I really began to think and ponder, because I'm really big on casting my views into doubt because I don't ever feel like I'm done learning. So anything I believe, I sort of am open to questioning it. And I study the antithesis of my views a lot, which I think is important in understanding your views at all, because if you don't know what you're arguing against, how can you argue for something, So after the episode, I started thinking of if my definition truly articulated exactly how I felt about the concept of love. And comes to find out, it didn't. So now I'm here to say that actually, I think my old definition was too broad to be plausible. But it's no shame in my game because we all learning, you feel me? So even still, my new working definition isn't perfect at all in any sense. It's hella holy, but, I'm trying to figure out what definition or construction of love makes me feel the most represented. It's a journey. And, I feel like love doesn't have a universally agreed definition. And furthermore, it's harder to come up with a definition that's sort of non-debatable in a sense, because everyone's always going to have some sort of, well, wait, what about this or what about that? It's always exceptions, right? So that's where I am with that, y'all. Anyways, I've really researched and stumbled across hella different conceptions of love. And for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to appeal to this idea that, love is really at its core giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. So y'all, I saw this quote on a Reddit thread when I was researching what is love? And I'm not sure who the author is because when I was researching that, a lot of different names popped up. But I think what's important here is the message. But I will say this is not my own statement or claim. I did not think of this sentiment, but I'm using it for educational purposes. So again, love is giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. That's what I came across. So while this statement doesn't completely depict how I feel about the sort of essence or nature of love, I think it's an interesting perspective that I can work with for the purpose of our discussion today. And before progressing with anything, I do want to say that, I can identify a few problems with this definition that makes it sort of rocky or implausible, but every definition of love will probably have some pushback. So I don't want us to focus so much on sort of perfecting our definition when it's just really one role in a larger organized line of thinking. So for now, let's just hold that, love is giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. Let's just hold that. Despite all sort of criticisms you have, let's just say, for right now, this is what love is. And this is what real love is. Like how I said in the last episode that, my definition of love is synonymous with my definition of real love. Like this idea that love is giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. It's not just love. It's the real love that I'm thinking about. So let's just make that clear. So on this note, I think it's important to see that there's also suggested or supposed levels to love. So to my mind, not all love looks like what we just defined. So the definition is pretty much only referring to the core essence of love and not accounting for all the exceptions and whatnot, like how I just said. However, according to the ancient Greeks, there are at least 8 different types of love. So I'm going to list them out briefly, but then focusing on one particular type, unconditional love. So the different types of love, according to the Greeks, are erotic love, affectionate love, familial love, playful love, obsessive love, enduring love, self-love, and most of all, unconditional love. So we should really note here that unconditional love was considered by the Greeks to be sort of the highest and most transformative type of love. Some have even likened this type of love to one that comes with sort of boundless compassion and endless empathy and all of that good stuff, right? And on this note, honestly, I think we can sort of transition and try and see how modern day society looks at this idea of unconditional love. So for me, I've heard countless times people saying that they love unconditionally or that they want to be loved unconditionally in some sort of relationship, usually romantic. We also see a lot of parents saying that they love their kids unconditionally too. And so while I hear all of this and can respect it, I dig it, I also have 2 main issues with this sort of notion of unconditional love. Namely, I think that it has no place in society as it does more harm than good. And I'm going to get into that and why I feel that way. And also, my other problem with it is that I don't think that it truly exists as it relates to humanity. I don't think we are capable of giving unconditional love. So these are 2, I guess, pretty hefty claims that sort of need to be teased out a little bit in order to reach the state of full clarity on what I'm saying. So I do want to note that I'm trying my best to sort of unveil and break down this information in a way that's palatable for y'all because I have a philosophy background, and so sometimes it's easy to slip into using jargon and words that aren't clear to people to, accept yourself, right? So I really don't want to do that, and I do just want to emphasize that, let's try and be charitable with each other's views. And this idea of charitability is assuming that, we are really trying our best to articulate our thoughts and arguments in the most cohesive way as possible, even if it's really difficult, like with this topic. So I just wanted to be mindful of that, and yeah, let's keep going. Right, so back to unconditional love. So let's sort of be clear on the implications of this type of love. It seems clear to me in my mind that a love that's, quote unquote unconditional is also a love that's not founded on any conditions, or it doesn't need conditions for it to exist. It exists unconditionally because it's unconditional love, right? More importantly, this love can't be erased or taken back because of something that was said or done. If a condition is sort of brought into the picture, then the love is no longer unconditional. You guys are following this, right? So with that being said, it seems that the most likely demographic to be able to give and sustain this kind of love when it comes to humanity and the human realm is parents, guardians, and caretakers of some sort. So we see in shows like Full House where the child goes and does something unfavorable or inappropriate, and after or before being disciplined, their parent or guardian says, I love you no matter what. This hurts me more than it hurts you, and I just don't want you to do it again because I love you so much no matter what, right? Cool. So I think unconditional love in this sort of light does have a certain appeal to it, no doubt. But as it relates to like romantic relationships, I think it has no place at all, and I think it does more harm than good. What I mean to say is, for example, a child growing up to be a serial killer or a rapist and still receiving this sort of boundless love from their parents is kind of different from, an adult cheating on their spouse and still receiving some sort of boundless love. However, I think in either case, the love being given is unhealthy and stifling in a lot of ways. It's just more glaring to me that, in the romantic relationship example. With respect to romantic relationships, though, I think that with unconditional love comes a lack of incentive for partners to hold each other accountable. Like, at some point, you got to stop saying, like, you'll love someone no matter what, even if they're abusing you, right? And you got to actually love yourself enough to walk away from that. Like, and this goes back to this notion that we have to struggle in order to be worthy of the fruits of a relationship, a healthy relationship, right? And to be frank, I think that the struggle love idea is hella whack. And I think that we shouldn't have to see life, more specifically, we shouldn't have to see love in our lives as sort of this thing that we have to grapple with each day for it to be worth it. And I think a lot of people who are, proclaimers of unconditional love are a part of toxic relationships, that they just become so complacent and complicit in their own abuse that they have no choice but to say, I love him no matter what. I love her no matter what, even though we've been through this. Like, literally, it could be like, even though he killed my best friend, even though he cheated on me 30 times, like, I still love him no matter what because I'm hard body, and that's unconditional love. Like, that is very mind-blowing to me, y'all. And I'm not here to bash, but at the same time, like, I really want us to look at the way that we think about things, because there's no way that I'm going to tell anyone I love them unconditionally, and I know in my heart I have conditions from which my love is built upon for them. So, however controversial my views may be, I can still be aware and acknowledge like some sort of common rebuttal to the way I think. And this common rebuttal is sort of that unconditional love should only be given to someone who deserves it. So like, forget struggle love. Like, I only love the people that deserve to be loved unconditionally. So your point doesn't stand, right? But I still feel like this is kind of absurd, because the whole point of unconditional love is that it's given without conditions. And to make someone sort of earn this love, or to only give it to people that are quote unquote deserving, is to also root it in a condition. Like, I'll love you unconditionally if you love me unconditionally. That's a condition. If they don't love you unconditionally, then why are you loving them unconditionally? You know what I mean? So, we can even take it a step further. Not only do I believe it has no place in romantic relationships, I feel that it does not truly exist, for us at least, and we're not able to give it to other people. So let's look at some examples so I can better illustrate what I mean. So for example, let's imagine a baby girl and her father. So perhaps the father is sitting on the couch one day holding his little precious baby daughter, his bundle of joy, his life, his everything, his love, right? And the father say to the baby, like, the moment she's born, I love you unconditionally. Nothing you could do could ever make me stop loving you. I'm always gonna love you. I'm your father, right? It's love. And the baby, looks at her father, smiles, and then throws up all over his collared shirt and says, goo goo gaga, right? But okay, years later, the now adult daughter does something that's completely against her father's moral code. I'm not going to give an example. Whatever comes to your mind is what you think is the most heinous thing a daughter can do to upset her father. Okay, that's what I'm going to take it as. she does something so crazy that he could never look at her the same. So they end up having a one-on-one, probably in prison through visiting hours, if that's what came to your mind, some sort of criminal act. And the father can't even look at his daughter. He's disgusted. And she looks up at him and says, "Do you still love me?" And the father can't even look at his daughter, let alone love her. In any case, it seems that he would switch from loving his daughter to just having love for her. And there's a difference. I love you, I have love for you. There's a difference. And, maybe it switches to I only have love for you for him. And he can't even tap into this love he supposedly has for her because of the nature of what she did, the intensity of it. So by sort of doing something unfavorable, his love shifted for her. And, let us not forget, love is what we said is giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. What she did destroyed him. Does he still love her? So maybe my point isn't so clear with the previous example, so let's look at another one. So say a couple is a year and a half into their relationship, right? And, they be telling each other every day, like, I love you, you my boo, you my baby, I love you unconditionally, it's forever with me, like, how I'm rocking, right? Whatever relationship goals, BS y'all be posting, that's something like this, right? However, in both of their minds, somewhere, I think, is this knowing that if either does something the other one detests or can't stand, the relationship is pretty much over, and the love can be considered gone as well, like, phew, kaput. And I mean, the basis for this couple relationship to begin with was a condition. You know what I mean? I don't think you can say you love someone unconditionally and then also say, I love you because you're so caring, for example. Because them being so caring is a condition on which you built your love for them upon. Like, let's think of a building really quick. Like, if the foundation of this building is altered in any way, then the conditions for that building's stability, for example, or even just aesthetic is altered and often compromised as well. Like, so if a person that you love for being caring stop being caring, then logically wouldn't you stop loving them for that? And like, of course, there's a difference between only loving someone for one reason and loving them for a bunch of reasons. Some people say like they don't even have reasons for loving people. They just love them. Like, it's so many different views out there. So again, y'all, bear with me. I'm trying to sort of condense this information in a way that's palatable for y'all. So, I mean, of course, it seems that love is no rational thing by any means. And again, I can see the rebuttals to my claims and I don't reject them, but I also don't feel compelled to say that, like, my views have changed completely. Even still, I think conditional love is more appropriate for all relationships, and to be clear, like, I don't think that conditional love is the end all be all, but I do think it's more appropriate in general. I mean, to be honest, I think that the conditions we place on our love should be true to who we are and what we need. Like, I see a lot of people falling out of love or just straight up ghosting their partners whenever they do something slightly quirky. Like, if you are going to love someone conditionally and not unconditionally, like, you can't just be so anal and critical that anything can mess up that condition. So I see both ends, like unconditional, conditional. I just still feel like conditional love is more appropriate for all relationships, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. I think there needs to be some sort of conditions in place. And people might say, like, okay, what about married people? And I'm like, well, look at the divorce rate. Like, my answer doesn't change. I don't hold marriage in the same regard as a lot of people. I don't see it as some sort of prize, really. So I don't think that unconditional love would be more plausible in a marriage, If anything, I think the only people that could really be the closest to capable of giving unconditional love is sort of someone who is the guardian of a child in some way, right? But Yeah, y'all, that's pretty much all the time we have for today. I think a lot has been said and laid out for everyone. And I hope this episode shed light on things that you hadn't previously considered, anyways, because during my research, it definitely did for me. I've sort of been learning and unlearning a lot of things, and I encourage you guys to do the same because life is full of changes, So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can follow me on Instagram at _rosegoldempathy. So peace, roses. I'm gonna catch y'all on our next episode. I'm not gonna reveal the topic; it's a surprise, but I'm sure it's gonna be great. And thank you so much for listening. Again, if you want to reach me, you can find me on Instagram at _rosegoldempathy. Peace out.